welcome to another episode of the Ultra Happy Podcast. I am your host, ultra runner and coach Tania, and your magnificent co-host Andy.
Hey, I feel like magnificent's a bit used out now.
No, okay.
We need to come up with something else.
Oh god.
I
Okay,
don't
now
know.
I need to.
It took us like 3 or 4 weeks to get it right in the first time. And
Now you
I
want
know-
me to change
now,
it?
now I'm just I
Okay.
don't know. Magnificent doesn't really fit.
You guys can send your.
That
would be cool.
Oh
How do you-
no, that could be bad.
Could be bad. How's everyone doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
How's your blister doing?
Oh, bizarre. I got a blister cycling. Has anybody ever had a blister cycling? How did that happen? How did that even happen?
Crossed the Namib Desert, 250 kilometers with no blisters. Andy goes out in a cycling day. I went running, he went cycling, 10K, and he got blisters. So,
But there is a plus to having the ultra running queen. Is she managed to fix my blister? I actually took because we went the other day and I actually took my plaster off today and there was no blister.
see,
I am
a
impressed.
good blister.
I am impressed.
Doctor.
I am impressed.
I took some not courses, but I was researching how to cure blisters, how to treat blisters before my race, and I was never able to use it because I didn't get any blisters, so I was a bit
You used
sad.
it on me.
So it was good
I
that
love
at
that.
least I got
So more than
chance
just,
to.
more than just a runner.
There you go.
I love it.
It's funny because you don't get them when you run. It was when you cycled.
Yeah,
That was weird.
I know. But I think that the thing is see when you run, you're more cautious because I make sure my socks are perfect and my shoes are perfect
Oh,
on
yeah,
and
that could
everything.
happen.
So
It's all about the socks, I feel.
Aye, I think it was obviously to do a wee bit with humidity, and I made the bloody stupid mistake of walking on the marble floor, which had been in the sun 40 degrees for 4 hours.
Do you think it was
I
it was
wonder
a
if I
mix of that?
burnt it or something.
But I'm glad
Anyway.
your blister is good.
Yeah,
And quick life.
And I would like to just make an apology.
Why?
Last week, from a video point of view,
yeah,
I
whoever
learned
is watching.
I learned that actually because I thought that we could do light at the back and light at the front and it would work, but our poor camera by the end it was more knackered than Tania doing the Namib race.
Yeah.
It was with the autofocus.
For
So,
whoever is watching in YouTube, we have more listeners than YouTuber watchers, anyways. But yeah, if anyone's watching,
I would just like to claim that as being my fault and apologize.
yeah, we're still learning, guys. But the sound, I think, is still great.
Yeah.
It's been great this time, so it's great. So, quick life update as always. I've been having such an emotional week. I think I haven't told you this.
I can tell. There's tears in the corner, there's shouting, there's moaning. The poor dog doesn't know whether he's up or down.
I know. I think I feel like I need to breathe deeply in this episode because otherwise I'm gonna start crying.
You look like you're going to start crying now.
I know, so don't look at me. Okay. I think I'm just starting. I think that had that moment, I think early this week when don't look at me like that. Turn around.
I don't know where to look.
Just look somewhere else. I think I started just to realize I don't know where we're leaving because we spoke about our goals and dreams in season 1, episode 5, if you want to go back to that. But since I was little, I dreamed that I wanted to leave with a sea view. That was my whole, you know how some women are oh, I want to get married with a big white dress, and that was their life goal, and their
Can I look at you now?
kind of thing. And I never had that. But I did, I don't know why or where it is coming from, that I just wanted to live somewhere with a sea view. And that was my whole life goal. Maybe because I was a swimmer and that was my first love was water and swimming. And maybe from there. So my whole idea was always living somewhere where I can open my balcony and see this the big ocean. And I don't know. That was my idea. Again, it was not a big dress or anything. It was just that. So I don't know. I think I was yesterday or someday. I was outside looking at the view that we just got now from the balcony, which we'll put in a post soon in Instagram. So I haven't put anything, but I will. And just realizing that I'm there, like
Yep.
after 37 years of dreaming of that, like we're living there. And I'm living the dream that I dreamed about and I worked for. And all my decisions pretty much in life were based on that dream. Even you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, I mean, that's
Because
one of the things we talked about in the
because
beginning. I
even
had
if-
the same idea, didn't I?
So let's say, imagine
Yeah.
if I found a guy and the guy was like, "Oh, I'm in love in the mountains and I want, to live by the mountains." I think that would have been a deal breaker for me because that's not where I wanted. So that would have been a no then, or something like that. So it was pretty clear for me that even those decisions were based on that dream or that
Vision.
visualization of my life. So and yesterday also as well popped out in my Insta, and then that with what it popped out yesterday in my Facebook, I totally lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it.
But
I lost it.
see, when I seen that, I thought that was actually amazing. That 9 years ago,
So let me tell what popped
you
out.
had that dream in it.
So yesterday it popped out in my Facebook. For who hasn't seen my Instagram, it popped out. I was just scrolling through Facebook, and it popped out. You know how you have those sudden like memories, like 1 year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. It popped out that 9 years ago, I shared a post by Runner's World magazine about this self-supported race across the desert. And it had like the picture of the runners running with the backpacks. And I shared that piece of note and I put it saying my dream or what a dream or something like that. And I mean, and that 9 years ago, I didn't even run a mile. I didn't know what like running was. So, but maybe funny, the seed was planted in that moment. And even though I didn't think about it every day, it was maybe in the back, like subconsciously was there. So just seeing that popped out in my Facebook, like I said, while I was looking at that CBU, it was like it was just a big.
But these things are quite profound moments because what happens is and that was before I even met you.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling the story, maybe it was actually early episodes of series 1 about the fact that you'd seen this picture with a guy and he had the cool trainers on and the backpack and you thought, I want to do that. So actually, for me, it's quite profound that you got that picture, you see
It was so
and
funny
it brought
9
that all
years
flooding
ago.
back to you.
And it was
Do you know
like,
what I mean, that's that point in
what
time.
horrible timing, because one, I'm like super emotional. Two, I just finished the Namib race, which that was my first race doing that. And it was just like, I just wanted to hug that young Tania 9 years ago and say like, we did it.
The poor dog got it. The poor dog got hugged and hugged and hugged.
Oh yeah, poor dog. And not only one desert, we're going for the 5 deserts. Like insane. Like, it was just it was an emotional ride.
And actually, do you know what? We spent a evening watching the desert races, remember? Just during the week. And that, I could see you getting a bit thoughtful about that and not almost emotional at the fact of that you are going to complete that. And that was, we watched that before you seen that thing, but I could see you watching it and I was looking at you and you were like, right, okay.
I think it takes a different meaning when you you have already lived or experienced at least one race. So
and that's my point. You've already been there, right? And you've done that. And all you kept saying to me is, I'm pretty sure I've done the most difficult one
I'm
first.
pretty sure.
But I could
I'm not
see you
gonna say-
thinking about it. Yeah, I could
We're
see
gonna
you
see.
really thinking about it, and taking that back.
But with that thought, let's finish together the last stage of the Namib race. We left it last episode with stage 3 and 4, and now we are ready to finish the race with the long march. The long march is the last stage. Well, it's not the last stage. There's another one after, but it's a 10K, and it's pretty much just like a celebratory walk. 10K. I mean, after what you all gone through, no one is going to drop.
Bizarrely, I actually didn't realise there was a long march in every race. I thought there was just a long march in that one.
No, there's
So
a
they're
long
okay.
march every race. And like I said, every race, I think they time it differently. In this case, it was at the end. So it was great knowing that it was just one long stage to go. And that was done. So let's go and finish the last day of the long march. So I started the day Same routine, same idea. 7 a.m. Sam waking us up, and everyone was up so early. I don't know why, but everyone was up really early.
Crazy question. How did they wake you up? Did you set an alarm or was there like a bell or
you
what?
hear,
Or
you
do you
listen
just hear
to
people?
everything.
Right,
You know
okay.
what? The volunteers start setting up the hot water, and
Yeah.
you hear a
The
little bit of
cans and stuff.
scrambling. Yeah, and you hear the metals because everything is metal. You know where they're cooking the water, well, boiling the water, and the things where they cook it. Everything is metal, so you can hear a lot of rambling. And
I would have loved it to be military style, you know, where
Yeah, it
they're
was
like
real
in full,
dark.
full metal jacket where they've got the bell going and all that.
Yeah.
Right, get up, you bunch of crazy people.
I would have probably liked it. That's my style. So same thing. Very early. I've nailed it. I think at this point, I've done it for 4 days already, and I think I liked doing the same routine. I mean, I love a good
You're a
routine,
routine
anyways.
person, yeah.
But I think it was something that I would recommend people on doing in following the same routine. So I had the same routine every time. Get up, grab my little toothbrush, prepare my breakfast, wash in semicolons. I grabbed my little towel, dropped it in water, and kind of like give myself a wee
Rub down.
rub down. And
Did you have deodorant?
no,
So there was no deodorant, so it was just au natural, was it?
yeah. And then go back to the tent, change, start packing while I was having breakfast. So I put the breakfast bowl sort of around there, and I started, changing and in deflating
Yeah, no. The inflating, yeah.
the mattress that I have, the inflatable mattress, roll it. I have like my, my sequence and what I would do things. And and then everything would have been packed and everything while I was having breakfast there inside the tent. And then I would prepare my coffee and then like sit down and have my coffee relaxed outside. But everything has been done. Yeah. I like that. Just kind of like being able to enjoy my coffee, not knowing that, I have to rush back to finish, packing or whatever. So I would see people doing it different ways. There's people that do breakfast, sit down properly in the tables and sit and have breakfast and everything while all their mess was still outside, and then kind of do the packing and everything at the end. I mean, there's many ways. I like this way because I like to enjoy my coffee sitting down and enjoying the sunrise.
How was the sleep the night before the long march? Was it a bit more nerving? Did you feel a bit more nervous about it, or was it what was going through your head?
I was nervous in the sense of like I don't know how my body is going to react. I mean, I've done over a dozen of 50 milers in my life, but never one after 4 marathons in extreme conditions. Yeah. So I did it. I was sure I was going to be able to do it. I was just like, I've never done this before. So it's actually obviously like, I want to know a little bit, I think, curious, because, that's how I attack life pretty much and everything. So I was a little bit curious in like, how is my body going to react to this? So I was like maybe nervous, but excited, but let's see, but I was excited because I like these distances. I love the long days. I love them. Yeah. I love. I love the pain that comes with it, because the 40 kilometers, it was tiring and it was mentally, and the heat, and it was exhausting, but it was not painful because the length of it was 40 kilometers. I think the true pain comes like after, I don't know, in this kind of thing, like 50, 60, like your feet start really hurting, like you start, like your body starts really aching. Like, the longer it gets, I love that feeling.
and in the morning before the long march, did you feel that your body was recovered enough? You were ready to go?
Yeah, totally. Like no sore, no niggles. I had no blisters. I was good. So like I said, I was confident that I was going to be able to complete it because there was nothing broken or nothing, there was nothing. And I haven't been able to run that much or anything to be sore. So actually I was not even sore, which it was a bummer because if you know me, I love the sore pain. Like I love that like muscly pain. Like, oh yeah, you did a good job, but there was no pain. It's just
ultra runners
there. So yeah,
love it.
I was feeling great. I had that, like, I didn't have no blisters and everything, so I was confident. And I did, what I did do the previous days, it was take mental notes in what time the sun was setting and at what time the heat was starting to cool off, like when it was starting to get better.
Yep.
And I did notice it was around 4:30 p.m. So with that in mind, that I checked like stage 3 and 4, it was around the same time. So I thought, okay. So I planned a little bit of a strategy in my head. I thought I'm going to do super slow. What I want is to be the least amount of time in the heat. Because I know when the heat leaves or when the sun sets, I will be fine. Because the problem was not my muscles. Like I said, it was not blisters. It was not, I know I was able to run. It was just the heat that was like eating me. So what I thought it was, I'm going to do super slow until checkpoint 3, which I calculated it will be around 4:30. And then after that, we will be able to move faster. So the plan was to go super slow, again, the first checkpoints, and rest in each checkpoint almost to cut off time, which I did. Like checkpoint 3, I left right in the cut off time. Like I was not chasing cut offs. I was getting there before, but I was taking like 20 minutes to just chill in the tent. So I wanted just to be, I'd rather be 20 minutes in the tent than 20 minutes outside. Okay. I mean, you have all day to complete it.
Question. Hand up. In my head, right, you're saying that what you've done is you slowed down for that time until checkpoint 3. And that's the hottest part of the day. There must have been, this for me, this seems like a fine line of, do you want to just battle through it and get to there quickly?
No.
Because the longer you take in the sun, if you're slower, you're going to be longer in the sun.
No, because I was like...
So you're not exerting yourself as much, but you're longer in high temperatures.
But I was inside the tent. Like my objective was to be as slow. I was saying slow down, not in the pace, slowing down in the checkpoint. Like I would get to the checkpoint.
Okay. And you would relax
let's
a
say
bit.
Before I was taking 10, 15 minutes. I was taking now like 20.
Yeah,
I was totally like leisuring there in the checkpoint.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was a great idea because that day also was so hot. Like, so hot.
That makes a bit more sense.
And
because
actually the checkpoint 3, before checkpoint 3, it was a massive dune, like a massive dune. And they had a rover before the massive dune. Very smart, the people from organizers, because they probably knew like they're going to need a little extra. There was 1 kilometer to go, but that was like an uphill soft sand battle. And I'm like, this is such a, like, that is the nastiest joke ever. Like,
tell me that it was positioned so that you could look at the dune.
Yeah, of course.
I love that.
You can just see it. I'm like, one, and it was so hot. It was the peak hottest of the day. And there was a rover there, and I sat there, I remember, for like 20 minutes. I was like, and everyone was passing. Everyone was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And my heart rate was really, really high. So I was like, I'm going to move when my heart rate gets to 90, back to like sort of normal. So I'm just going to wait here. And I just waited there for, I can't remember, but I was like, you know what, I have enough time. So I was there in the shade of the van, sitting down against the van. And again, my heart rate dropped. I was feeling okay, cool down. And then I battled that 1 kilometer uphill to the next checkpoint, which was checkpoint 3. And yeah, I rested there for another like good 20 minutes. And they had Cokes there. That was our little...
Hold on, going back. I think that's a really good idea and a good tip for people that are maybe out there doing it for the first time. Is that monitoring your heart rate? Let it come down. Yeah, I mean, do that part of race, get in there. But if you're going to, especially if you're going to tackle something a bit tricky in front of you and you're at a checkpoint, let your heart rate go down. Yeah. Because that's super important. What that'll do is that'll regulate your body. It'll do everything.
And again, I had no rush in getting, like, it was possible to do it in this race because they give you 24 hours to finish the stage. I mean, man, you're fine. You know, I was not in a rush. So, and then I was not racing either. Obviously, this wouldn't go if you're racing. You're trying to get
a position.
And even though, maybe if you want to get in a good position, this strategy would work because I will tell you what place I got at the end, which it was not too bad considering, you know, That's the self-management, because of how I managed this heat or these times during the day, I was able to run all night, which we're going to get into it. So yes, I saved, let's say, all that energy or that, time away from the sun, taking my time in every checkpoint until checkpoint 3. That was around 4:30. And then I pretty much had to be kicked out of the checkpoint. There was a lot of people, by the way, and there were a lot of people behind me still. So I don't think they were cut off anyways. They're quite flexible as well. But anyway, I passed the checkpoint, and in that checkpoint, I met again Christina, our friend from stage 3.
Yep.
And we said, hey, do you want to walk, a little bit together? So I thought,
do you want to walk that thing?
Brilliant. No, after the checkpoint
that
3.
checkpoint,
So I
right,
climbed
okay,
the
got
big
you.
dune, almost died again. I had my Coke in checkpoint 3 because they give you a cheeky Coke in the middle and like halfway through.
Coca-Cola, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I think you will have a heart attack if you get like
I know, imagine.
the other type of Coke.
The Colombian stuff.
And I passed through there in that checkpoint. I met Christina. We went through and we went back. We went down through a canyon, and it was like so tricky and so scary. It was like proper scrambling down, and we were having like panic attacks.
What was it like? Loose shackles
and massive rocks. Like you had to jump from one massive rock to another, which was like very, very, very far away. So they put a volunteer there to help us. And like people were trying to go down like carefully and stuff. And the volunteer was just down there. And he's like, just jump. And I was like, okay. So I just jumped to his back. I didn't care anymore. I was like, just get me out of here. The poor guy was like, are you sure? I'm not the lightest, but he was so beautiful. Yeah, I just jumped, just jumped to his back, and he catched me. Thank God for that. And yeah, I went down like that the whole canyon, and it was pretty fun. And also because you don't trust your legs that much anymore. Like my legs were a little bit like already, tired. So you're like, I don't know if I want to jump because I don't know if they will be able to spring back. I'm just gonna collapse. So yeah, you just have to take it, just be careful with your body. So it was, and after that we passed together that bit, and we marched all the way to checkpoint 4, which still a little bit sunset. The heat was still there, so I didn't run, but we did put on a march because we were kicked out from the other one pretty much because of the cut-off. We were pretty much cutting it really slim on the next checkpoint for the cut-off. So we did put on a march. Like it was a proper like military march. And Christina knows how to walk fast as well. So we were like walking fast. And we made it to the next checkpoint. Great on time. We actually made up time, 15 minutes. So it was like brilliant. And that was the last checkpoint that they have a really... let's say, put in cut-off time, because after that, like I think they just want everyone to go to that checkpoint with sunlight. Yeah. After that, it goes into into the night shift, and they are quite relaxed on the checkpoints. After that, you do have like 24 hours to finish, but that's when pretty much it's okay for you to kind of like slow down. Yep. And we passed that checkpoint, and it was the moment to take the head torches out. It was definitely, sun was gone. And I knew that was going to be my cue for start trotting. So I walked a little bit again with Christina, and then I said, I think I'm going to start trotting. And that was the goodbye for Christina at that point. Like I said, you have to,
you've
be
got
true to your pace.
Yeah.
And if I had a plan, that was a plan that I had in my head. So, so I pushed through to the next checkpoint. The next checkpoint was the night checkpoint. So it's a checkpoint where you can sleep a little bit. So they have tents there,
right, okay,
where you can have a wee snooze, which I love this. If you are new to the distance, I would like, what other ultra marathon a non-stop. You have a tent to sleep in.
I've never heard
Never.
of that.
I
I've
know.
never heard of
So
it.
it was great. So if you're new to the distance, I thought this is brilliant because they allow you to test the distance, but at your own pace, and you can even have a snooze. Like that's brilliant. So they had tents there, and they had hot water so you can have a meal there. So I got there, and I was so hungry, which is good though. But I was very hungry. So I had my meal that I had planned for that night for that part of the day, but I was still really hungry. So I jumped into my meal for the next day.
Yep. I got a message about that.
I was like, we're running low of food. It was not that I planned it wrong. I think because I took longer in the other stages that I thought I would. So I planned to be out there for each marathon. So the previous 4 stages, 7 hours. But I was out there for 9.5. So I start taking food from the next day and the next day. So by the last day, I was running really, really low on food.
Is there a calculation for that? In terms
Yeah.
of if you're running a distance and running a certain amount of miles, you should have a certain amount of intake?
Yeah. The calculation is roughly, again, it would change. It depends a lot in your it's very personal. But my good rule of thumb is 90 grams of carbs and 200 to 300 calories per hour.
Right,
So
okay.
you will have to kind of like know how long it's going to take you to like roughly. And then I would add 800 to 900 calorie emergency kind of buffer, which I used as well. So
Oh, because I was going to say, did you do that or did you learn that?
I learned that. No. I did that. I
Yeah.
had a 800.
You had a buffer in you.
I had a buffer, which was just an extra bag just there with 800 calories from whatever. But I used that as well. So I was, it was cutting I had enough food. I was just very hungry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not used to like being
but-
rationed. In
But I would
foods.
imagine that the heat probably takes it out you a bit more as well. Do you know what I mean?
And people
from
were
that?
like struggling to eat, and I'm like, that will never be my struggle.
Yeah. You're like that. Are you leaving any of that?
I did jump into some people's meals. They were like, "Oh, I'm not gonna eat this." I'm like, "Don't throw it. I'll have it."
Yeah.
So yeah, I had some like mashed potatoes and food that people leaves, and that's my other point. That's how I kind of survive a little bit, and just eating extra bits from here and there. I wouldn't recommend you banking on having that always. Like, don't think people are going to give you food. Obviously, this time it worked, and it just worked. But yeah, I wouldn't put it in my strategy like, oh, people are gonna give me food, because everyone has their meals counted.
Yeah.
And I actually feel terrible asking. I would never ask people to
That's
give
the
me
emergency.
yeah, and I'll just be like, oh, you're leaving that? Okay, I'm just, you're pretty much eating what's like gonna be thrown away. So yeah, don't bank in that. Definitely have that extra buffer. And again, I just thought it would be less time, but it was not. It was not. I think I just calculated it wrong, but that worked. So anyway, so the checkpoint there, I ate my 2 meals. And people are like, how can you run with so much in your stomach? Man, I can eat 3 pizzas, full family side pizza,
You can eat.
And
You
run.
have what they call in Scotland hollow legs.
and keep running. Like, I could still move. So yeah. And also, is this something you should train in your normal training days? So eat a meal and then walk. Now try to eat big meals before running, or maybe not running like sprints or like tempo runs or fast runs. Just, start kind of like training your gut to be able to process food while it's working out, sort of thing.
We talked about that in a previous podcast,
Yeah,
didn't
we
we?
did.
Because we said actually, because if you're someone that's not used to taking the dehydrated food as well, then practice it beforehand, because
You
it's
can practice
different.
just with like not dehydrated meals, but just normal meals, like.
I tried the dehydrated meals. I would
Oh,
practice.
you can't miss that episode. That is hilarious. But you have to watch that one in YouTube, by the way. So I made it to the checkpoint. And the plan was obviously not to sleep. I never had the plan on sleeping there. So I kept my head torch and started trotting. I was passing so many people, and then I turned around and I seen the tents, and there were a lot of people sleeping. So I knew that was my chance to make up a little bit of time. That's when everyone was like,
Do you remember when you came back, the first thing I said to you was, what happened that day?
oh yeah, that's what you.
Because I was tracking you on the GPS, and you were maybe about 80, I think it was maybe 89th
I
or
was in
something
the
like
back.
that.
I knew I was one of the last ones.
You were like 89th, and then it got to like maybe midnight, and I was like, hold on a minute. You jumped 30 places. And
I'm
I was like, what is going on
ciao,
here?
everyone.
I said, what happened?
This is where I run. Everyone's dead. And I'm like, this is where we take
I was
it
like,
back.
what did you take? Some Red Bull or something?
This is where we take some souls back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was
I was
so much
dead
fun.
proud of you that day.
It was so much fun. I just loved it. And I was so glad I did, because I obviously ran through the night, and it was the most magical night run I've ever. And it's going to be really difficult to top that, because everywhere you looked in the sky, it was the starriest, so many
Starriest.
starriest skies I've ever seen.
Well, that is
in
you
my life.
That is you getting to see the universe, because the truth of the matter is, because it's so dark there,
It's so dark.
you get to see every single
You're
light
in the
up
middle
there.
of the desert, so clearly there's no pollution, and it was pitch black again. If you turn off your torch, or you covered it, you couldn't see your hand in front of you. But if you look up, it was like it seemed like the sky, the stars were like surrounding you. Yeah. Oh, it was just.
See,
it was
that's
so
the thing.
magical.
That's the things I'm jealous of, because I love all that.
Oh man, I was so magical. And then it started to cool down, so it was like that cold breeze, the cold desert breeze. So it was like warm, but that with cold breeze. It was the perfect running weather. Like, well, not hot anymore, but you can still feel a little bit heat. It was just perfect, so perfect. I could, and I was just running in there. It was like so surreal. It was one of those moments you're like, I am running in the middle of the desert. I was a little concerned at some points, because I was like, I'm in the middle of the desert of the Namib, having these like great, reflecting moment. I'm like, hold on a minute. I just said I'm alone in the middle of the desert, of the Namib desert. Hey, hold on a minute.
Yeah,
that could swing both ways. That can be like really cool and relaxing, and oh my god. And they're like, hold on, what is there any animals around? Like, is there gonna be like, what am I gonna do if I see a hyena just out here?
You wouldn't
like,
see him.
I'm alone in the middle of the desert.
In fact, can you tell the story about the guy running through?
Oh yeah, hold on. I'm gonna
Talk about
I'm
that,
gonna
because
talk about that.
This is absolutely bizarre.
So we finished the stage after 9.5 hours, I think. No, 18.5 hours. I crossed the finish line around 3 a.m. in the morning. And my feet were in agony the last kilometers. The last 30K, which it was from that last checkpoint, I did not stop at all. Like, there was checkpoints. There's another 2 or 3 checkpoints. I pretty much grabbed water and I kept going. I didn't even sit down. And that was a whole plan. I was like, this is where we push. And because of that, my feet were a little bit, my sole of my feet, as always, like, I don't know if you guys know, or like that feeling when you're walking all day in the mall, or you go to Disney and your feet hurt.
In the mall.
That happens with me when I'm in the mall. Or when you're just walking, sightseeing all day and your feet are sore. That's the same sort of pain that I get in the sole of my feet, that I try to work, every day, because I think I have really weak soles. But that was very, very painful at that point. I was just like, it's getting really, really painful. But I liked it as well, because it was like, yeah, this is the pain that we like. We don't get that in a short stage. Like, this is what I love. Like, this pain, I don't know why. Maybe I had something wrong with my head.
Did you feel, and see when you finished and you crossed the line, were you like, did you feel that you had a bit more in you, or were you done?
Yeah, totally.
So yes,
Yeah. I was fine. I finished. My feet were really, really, really sore. But here is the funny thing. I felt great when I crossed the finish line. I was like, yeah, great. I sat down. And then I went to my tent. It was pitch black, obviously. I seen that there was people already in my tent. Remember, they were really fast. So I couldn't see very well, but I think most of them were in. So I needed to be quiet. I mean, I was a little bit tired. I think when you stop, your body starts seizing up.
Yeah.
So I was like starting to feel a little bit in agony and like everything. And I had to inflate my mat, change your clothes because they were obviously soaking. So I have a wet change of clothes every night. And so I had to do all that really quietly, really sore. And then I was a little bit hungry, but I was like, I'm not moving anymore. I was just dead. That's when I started, like, my body started seizing up a little bit. So I was like, no, I'm not going to move. So I didn't eat anything. I just laid down. And then when I started laying down and doing all that, I started getting really cold. But like that cold of like start shaking, like super, super cold. So I was like, okay, let's go into my sleeping bag. But that cold didn't leave. I was just freezing inside, but I was sweating, and I had the most like I think my muscles were just giving up, like they were just ceasing. So you can feel like your muscles kind of like contracting and everything kind of it's such. I think you've seen me in that pain after like when you stop. That's when the wall hits.
But there's a reason for that, because of those kind of long distances, your body's it's got that kinetic movement, and your muscles are expanding, contracting all the time, so they're constantly moving, which is what keeps you warm. So then when you stop that, don't forget that don't forget that the deserts are actually cold at night.
It was cold.
So your body doesn't feel it necessarily
And
as
you
you're
were
going
wet.
through it, but the minute that you stop, that's when you start to feel it, because you don't have that kinetic energy in your
That's
body
what I
moving
thought.
anymore.
I'm getting cold because I'm wet, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's cold. So I changed. That's what I had to change. And I was still freezing. My body was aching. I've never felt that bad before. Or maybe because I was alone. So I was like left in my way, all wrapped in my sleeping bag, shaking uncontrollably, and just everything was hurting. And I was just like trying to call a doctor, but I couldn't, and I was alone there, and I felt so helpless, and
Felt sorry for
so
yourself.
I was just crying a little bit, like, someone help me, please. I'm gonna die here.
You're thinking, because you're like, someone help me, please. You're trying not to wake anybody up,
I
but trying to wake
know,
everybody up.
Exactly. I was just like, please, someone help me. But it's like I was not gonna stand up and look for a doctor. So, and they were not gonna come. So I knew I was just, I had to just. So suddenly I was like thinking into the doctor, and somehow a doctor pops into my tent, and I was like,
What is going on?
yes, please. Hey, are you a doctor? Can you help me? But suddenly I seen she was walking in with my other tent mate, and my tent mate was covered in blood with a sling in his arm, looking really, really bad shape. So I was like, yeah, I think I'm just not going to say anything.
Poor
I
guy.
think I'm just going to just shut up and just stay
Did
here.
you pretend you were sleeping?
Very quiet. No, pretend. I woke up. Well, I kind of like sat down a little bit, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he looked a little bit scared and a little bit like confused. So I wasn't sure what happened. And the doctor obviously was on, like, hands on him and, kind of putting him together and getting him comfy. So I didn't want to like ask too much. And I just said, are you okay? And she said, yes, fine. So at that point, I didn't know what happened to him. So she stayed with him a little bit. And I was just there shaking uncontrollably without wanting to say anything, because clearly the doctor was attending someone medically worse than me. So yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but I don't know what happened. From there, I had like blackout. I think I just blacked out pretty much. Yeah. I don't recall anything after that until I got woken up by like a little bit of like a sunlight and it was 8 a.m. I look at my watch, 8 a.m. in the morning of the next day.
I'd say you had a brilliant sleep that night.
And I was like, what time is it? Where am I? What happened? I woke up with this like puddle of sweat. Like all my clothes were so sweaty. Everything was soaking. Like I had probably a really high fever in the night. And it's totally normal. I mean, if you don't know, or if you're new to ultras, or you're about to do one, this is what you can expect after a really strong effort. Just know that you may have a little bit of a fever. It's absolutely normal. Just your muscles are just, so inflamed, and everything is just, yeah. So,
How was your stomach in that point?
was good.
Is it all right? Yeah.
yeah. I was good. And I was like, a little bit like, oh God, now I need to eat, but I didn't want to eat. I was feeling very dizzy, a little bit very nauseous, very like that fizzy head, like what just happened? Like I just got, punched. Like the worst hangover. That's how I always say people, how do you feel the next day after an ultra? You get being hangover, that's pretty much it. Just maybe without the head soreness. It's just the dizziness and the achiness, and it's just and a little bit nauseous, and that's exactly how you feel the next day.
Before we go on, you've left a bit of a cliffhanger.
No, I haven't finished.
Oh,
what are you
right,
gonna
okay.
ask?
The guy.
Hold on. Yeah,
Ah.
it's coming.
The guy.
The guy. So I wake up. I'm just opening my eyes. I'm trying to revive myself first. I'm trying to see what the hell happened. And then I seen the doctor popped in again. And thank God the doctors were going around just checking on everyone, because I was such in a rough state. And maybe that's why they go around, because they know we
Yeah.
are in such like, weak state. And I was like, I'm dying. Like I don't know. And she's like, how are you? I was so nice. Like I was like laying down, and she came down, and she was talking to me, and I was just like a little half dead. And I'm like, I'm really nauseous. And she's like, did you eat last night? And I said, no. It was eating, sleeping, or, trying to keep warm. So I just went to the first two, and I didn't eat. Like, I didn't want to go out anymore. So she brought me a soup, beef. What's the name of that? A cube?
Oh, like the OXO ones?
Yeah.
Like those stock cube ones?
Stock cube, yeah. And I gave her my cup. She filled it with hot water, and she brought me a cup with that cube. Oh my God, it was the most delicious thing I've ever tried. Like full of salt, like fully concentrated. And then she said, you need to drink that. And then after you drink it, I'll give you a nausea pill, and you will have this. So that was the second time I took a nausea pill in the whole thing. I was just gonna throw
I do
up.
love that about Racing the Planet, is it's definitely not just well organised, but I think that they look after the athletes,
Yeah.
And I think that the most important part about it is they've got that much experience now over all the years
That they know what's
what to
happening.
do, aye,
Yeah.
and I love that about it.
It was great. I never expected just the doctors being, popping in everyone's tents, just asking, how are you? Do anyone need anything? And obviously they know that we will be a little bit fragile, and we may need a little bit of help. So that was really nice. I never expected that.
And I bet
so it was nice.
everybody's got a story like that about it.
I
You
know.
can just imagine over the years. Yeah.
I would love to hear stories. But yeah, it was great. And then once I was a little bit, I looked around. I think my tent was all empty, just not the guy that they brought the night before. He was still there, a little bit sleeping. And while I was having my cup of soup, he kind of started moving. So I was like, are you okay? Do you want me to? I still don't know what happened, but I'm like, I can help you. Do you need anything? He said, no. He stood up, kind of like sit down. And that's when I asked, like, what happened? Okay, guys, you need to like hold yourself on this one. This is a cracker. Not a cracker, but it was just unbelievable.
That's the most Glasgow thing I've ever heard you say.
Unbelievable story. This guy had the best story. So I'm like, what happened? His name is Mike from the UK, actually. So what happened? And he's like, I got hit by a bike. What do you mean by a bike? We're in the middle of the desert. Like, he's like, I know. I don't know. So there was one road crossing. So he said that it was around there, and there was a cyclist, and he just got hit by it, but really, really bad. Like he looked like he was, yeah, like a car just crashed into him. It was just so bad.
Yeah, and it's not normal roads. It's kind of like dusty roads, isn't it?
It was dusty roads. There was one road crossing, but I don't think he was there because he said that it was like 10K before getting to the finish where he got hit by the bike, which at that point it was dusty roads. So in the middle of the night, because by that point it was already 2 a.m. when this happened, as he was telling me. So he probably was like behind me a little bit, or maybe in front of me a little. No, in front, no, because I would have seen it. So he was behind me just a tiny bit, because it happened exactly at the time. So I was arriving at 2 a.m. and that happened at 2 a.m. So he was like a little bit behind me, like an hour behind me. And he got hit by a bike in the middle of the Namib Desert, where it has the less count of people per square. How can you get hit?
If there was bad luck, that is it. Because not only is there nobody around, he must have had his head torch on.
Yeah.
And the chances of the guy coming, he must have had his earphones on or something as well. Cause
so he said that he looked or he smelled or he was a little bit drunk. The bike guy.
Oh, the bike guy. Not the runner.
Not the runner. He was partying all night. I think that's what happened. And he was able, thank God the bike guy stopped, obviously, and kind of waited for him to call help. So we do have a tracker, and in the tracker we have an SOS button. So he hit the SOS button, and apparently, obviously, the van got to him, and doctors and everything. So he was sort of taken back to the
it's a bizarre
camp. But it was like 10 kilometers before the finish. It was just so stupid.
It's a bizarre story, and I remember when you told me it, and it's only one of the few things you told me when you came back. Is I was thinking to myself, how would that even happen?
How would that even happen?
I mean, the possibility must be like slim to none to get hit by a bike in the desert of a guy riding at that time in the morning when you've got your head torch on and you're just running. It's just so unbelievable, isn't it?
I know.
But to be fair, I mean, like, disclaimer, I guess it's not Racing the Planet's fault. It's nobody's fault.
Nobody's fault.
It was just that particular
he was in the wrong
moment.
time at the wrong moment, and it was accidents happen, and it could have been you slipping with a rock, or you could have just been hit by a bike.
And what was he saying about it? Was he angry about it, or was he?
He is the kindest, sweetest soul ever. Like, I took care of him after that a little bit. I was like feeling a little bit, because he was also in my tent. So I feel people that are in your tent, it's almost like your team, like your family.
Yeah, you support each other.
So the other guys have already woken up and they were out. Obviously they didn't woke us up. So we were in the tent, left Mike and I. So I was trying to help him and then help him out to stand up, and we went out to have breakfast, sort of in the tables together. And they kind of cleaned his face, but he still had a lot of like
scratches and stuff.
Dry blood
all
his face.
Yeah.
So I kind of helped him to kind of like wipe it off. And remember, there's no showers, and he just had like all his face. He showed us a picture when that happened, and all his face was covered in blood. You know how the blood, like the face, if you got a cut in your face, it's very like the blood is everywhere.
Yeah.
And stuff. So yeah, he showed us a picture and it was terrifying. So I help him. Yeah, it's you bond with the people that are in your tent, definitely. So he was the sweetest guy, and he was not angry. I think he took it like we were just saying. I was just in the wrong moment at the wrong place, and it's just it was just stupid that happened to me. And
I tell you what, though, some story. See when you're all sitting around the
Some
campfire.
Scary. I know, and then he started saying this story to everyone, and everyone was like, "What?"
Yeah,
like we couldn't even believe it. It was just crazy. If he didn't have a picture of him,
but he was okay, was he?
He was fine. Oh, he just, I don't know if he broke or something. His just the back here.
Yeah.
something in the shoulder because he fell. So he had the arm in this sling for a little bit, and yeah, until they were going to check him in the hospital the next day.
Might have some impingement or something.
Yeah, he did stay. He did finish the next stage. Well, we're going to say, but he stayed there and he was fine. So it was perfect. So I was like, okay, this is 8 a.m. in the morning. That's sort of like we have all day that day to recover. So it's pretty much, that's what I was saying. The race is almost like finished at that point. So it was great to just really have time to now party, now like kind of like go out and chat. You have all day. The heat was out again, the sun. So you can like really enjoy the sun instead of being outside running. You're like in the camp, hanging out. It was great. It was really, really fun. And I knew I needed to recover because my surprise was going to arrive at 2 p.m. on that day. So at 2 p.m., I was kind of like getting ready. I was trying not to look as bad. And at 2 p.m., a van parked around the start line or just in the camp, and the doors opened, and my two parents picked out the van. Oh man,
it was hardly a surprise because you knew they were coming.
I knew they were coming, but yeah, that was my surprise for myself.
No, but it was a wee bit of relief, wasn't it? A wee bit of sort of.
Plus, they had to do a lot of a trip to get there. Yeah. Obviously, from Mexico, they did like a lot of stopovers in Paris, and then they went to South Africa. So I didn't know if everything went fine, if yes or no. I knew a little bit because I have the emails that we were going back and forth. Yeah, you kind of email me that everything was fine, that they were made it okay, but still, like, you know,
your parents, you're obviously worried.
Yeah, I'm worried about them. Like, you know, how was the trip in Paris? If they had a good time, if they were able to, you know, all the questions. Like,
don't worry, they had a good time.
They had a good time. I know. I should have known better. So I was so excited to see them, and I wasn't emotional until I hugged my mom, and she was like crying so much, and I was like, okay, just crying as well. And I was like, oh, Mom, that was so hard. And my mom is like, I know. It was such a great moment to be in the middle of the desert in that place after doing something so hard and just hugging someone, you know, that you love and, close to you. It was just great. And so they have the Racing the Planet. They have this program called Friends and Family. So if you want to invite a friend or a family, they can't experience with you the last night and the last stage of the race with you. In this case, this last stage is 10 kilometers the next day. And so they arrived to the camp. So they lived and they were able to experience the whole experience of the camp life, you know, like they were given a dehydrated meal.
I bet they would have loved that.
Imagine my dad.
Your dad would have been like, what the?
I know. My mom, I think my mom could do one of these races, no problem. She's like, oh yeah, this is good. Like, give me the water. She was preparing the meal. She would eat it. Like, she's just like so easygoing. My dad is a picky one. He was like, what is this? And like trying it. And he's like, no. I think he didn't eat, by the way, the whole day. He was just like, no. And then they were able to sit down in the camp and kind of like know the people that I've been living with the last week and just kind of like sharing stories. I introduced them to Christina, and Christina was just sharing some words with them, and it was just great. And everyone was like, oh, you have a tough daughter, you know, and they don't speak 100% English and everyone doesn't speak 100% Spanish, so it's great to like, you know, everyone trying to kind of talk to them and saying hello to them, and it was just great for them to see. And they brought, because obviously of the travels, my mom had a half of a bag of Doritos.
No, wait a minute.
Oh, no. She had a half a bag of Doritos from the trip. And she's like, oh, yeah, I have this bag of Doritos. You should have seen, like, we were in the meal, in the tents, just, you know, all chatting. And she takes out this bag of Doritos. And everyone was like attacking her. Like, they were like, are those Doritos? And my mom was like, yeah, do you want some? And everyone was like, yes, yes, yes. And everyone was like, just trying to grab their. And my mom was like, okay, what is going on? Because we're not supposed to, obviously, don't. I think this is like, don't tell Sam that she brought half a bag of Doritos to the tent, to the camp. That's not allowed. But if it was just from their travels that they were just, they didn't mean it with harm or anything. But it was just so funny seeing. And my mom was like, "What is going on? Why are they all like? We haven't tasted a Dorito in like like nothing different in 7 days." So it was just funny to see their faces of like, "What is going on here?" It was just really funny, and it was funny to see them looking at everyone kind of destroyed and smelling everything and everyone.
Because I don't think they've experienced that before.
No,
They must have been.
they
looking
haven't
at-
even experienced that before.
They must have been looking at it thinking,
What
is
happened
this?
just
This is
here?
like a war zone.
It looked like a war zone, definitely, because it was like clothes hanging out, and everyone looked obviously super raw, dirty. And I actually smelled my mom, and I was like, "Oh, you smell so good." I haven't smelled anything so good or clean in the last 7 days. And you think, oh, 7 days is not that much. It's a lot when you've been taken away from all this.
Yeah.
It is.
But that must be one of the great parts about it as well, because coming away with no phone and, do you know what I mean, like, just stepping back and
yeah.
being yourself, your own thoughts, your own world, everything. And yeah, you could say, oh, I smell a bit, but in the grand scheme of things,
Everyone's smelling, so it's great.
everyone's smelling it. It's not a big deal.
To be honest, I even asked my mom. I was like, "Do we smell that?" And my mom said, "You guys don't smell like we thought it would be worse."
They're worse.
To be honest, no one smelled that bad. So, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. I actually thought the smells would have been worse than they were. So, yeah, it wasn't that bad. I mean, my clothes were like standing up by themselves because they were like so salty and so like hard, but nothing wild, I think, in general. And the next day, so obviously we went all to bed. They have their own tent, so friends and family. There was another mom also visiting, and another girlfriend or friend or something from another runner as well. So all the friends and family were there, and they have a tent on their own. So they went and sleep on their tent. It was so cute seeing my friends when they're in their sleeping bag. And I gave them my sleeping mat, because my dad has a bad back. So I gave him that. So I slept the last night in the floor, which is not cool. So if you're ever doing this and you're thinking of not bringing a mat, bring a mat, because I could experience the last day with no mat, no nothing. And that was absolutely, that wouldn't survive the race without that. So it was great. It was so funny to see them struggle that day. And my mom was like the next day getting ready, because same thing, same idea, wake up and we have the last 10K, which I asked them if they wanted to do it with me. The plan was that for them to do it, but I just give them the chance that you have the last chance to say no. He said, yeah, they say yes, we'll do it. They've been training for that. So off we go. Same thing, Sam, 7 a.m., 8 we left, and they took the last 10 kilometers with me. I got them there a vest.
Yeah.
I packed them a vest. I packed them a couple of things that I gave to the organizers to give them to them. So I wasn't carrying it all the time. They were able to give them that. And that was it. They finished the last 10K. It was so funny. We spoke about it in the first episode, I think, to see my dad. My dad is actually a good runner. Like, he was sprinting and jumping off like the trail, and you could see him like just going. My mom struggled a little bit. I mean, she's super strong, so I know she would be fine. She was just taking her time, so we left her just to kind of like walk on her own, and she was loving it. Well, at the end of the story, she said she hated every step of it. But my dad actually liked it. So I was running with my dad most of the day. And yeah, my mom was just a little bit far behind, but it was so fun. There were a couple of dunes as well. So a couple of dunes, and they were like the tiniest dunes, right? Like it was just a tiny dune, like 5-step dune kind of up of like that kind of sand. And my mom was like, oh my God, this is so hard. I was like, yeah, wow.
Imagine.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a sentimental until I tell you what I've went through. But it was great. It was so funny. And then obviously 10 kilometers later, the finish line of the Namib Desert. And it was so magical again to cross it, and having my parents witnessing all, and even getting a little bit of a taste of what the life
it's something to remember
camp
forever.
is. Exactly. I think that's what we did. That's why I told them to do it, and if they could do it, you can never buy that memory ever. Like that was just amazing. And obviously I haven't seen them for a while. I think we counted, it was like, I think 6 months. We haven't seen each other since then. So it was great to kind of like walk those 10K. We were just catching up and just chatting in the middle of the Namib Desert. Like it was just a great memory. And I'll post it on my Instagram as well. I haven't posted it, but we were walking and it was like, you guys need to walk, but you guys need to walk fast, yeah? Like not easy walk. Like
Still a race.
I know I don't care about the time, but let's try not to put me in the last place. And so my mom was like, I feel like in the military or something. And she was even like chanting the chant, like the military chant.
Oh,
Da, 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 da. I was like, yeah, let's do that. And we were just making up songs. And it was just hilarious. They're so funny and they're so fun. And so at the end of the day, the race finished pretty much close to the hotel. So they take you back to the hotel, and they assigned you to your rooms again. And friends and family also have a room already allocated as well. So we had 2 different rooms, but I went with them because mine was not ready yet, and I was dying for a shower.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
So my mom opened the room, and I think I told you a story. I just ran to the bed, and I gave the biggest jump to the bed and hugged the bed. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in a bed. Like, how good is this feeling? Just feelings like, again, that you never thought you would, things that you take for granted, that they were like taken away, and now you're like, oh, how good is a bed? Like, oh man. And then I had a shower. You should have seen that shower.
I don't think we should have.
Can you imagine?
I would imagine it'd be
I was thinking of taking a video of the shower, but I thought, no, that's, even for me, it's too disgusting. And I'm not disgusted by a lot of things, but that was truly disgusting.
God, we went to the beach the other day and there was some amount of sand coming off us. I can only imagine what it's been like.
There was not a lot of sand. It was just the dirt. Like the water was brown and gray, like all the water. I had to shower like 5 times, like wash my hair 5 times, my body 5 times. Like I'm not going to stop washing until the water comes out like clear. So it took me like 5 washes to like finally see the water going out.
Get
like
rid of the desert.
Yeah. But it was just crusts of, in your skin. Just crusts of
salt and
whatever.
Yeah.
So
sounds great.
That was beautiful. So I wanted a shower as soon as possible so we could go out and have food.
Oh, I was going to say, I bet you were
like... Oh, man. I was just like... I walked in, I'm like, okay, hold on. Really quick shower, everyone, because we need to get some food. Like, hurry up. And, so everyone was, like, rushing, and my parents were rushing as well. And they were moving a little bit slower and crooked because they just finished their first 10K. So they were like, a little bit like... I was like, come on. My mom was, like, so sore. Like, already. I'm like, hey, you can't be that sore anymore. So it was just funny. And then we went into the town to have some food. So I had like a massive pizza and a massive bowl of spaghetti that I told you guys about, the funny story in episode 1, I think, about that's when my obsession with Tabasco started, because I ordered a Tabasco sauce and I finished the whole bottle. I think my spaghetti was swimming in Tabasco. It was Tabasco with spaghetti.
We had to put a stop to it last week.
Yeah.
I actually said, right, enough's enough here. And you were saying to me, well, actually, my stomach is really sore now.
Yeah, laugh up, Tania stopped. It has to stop. It had to stop because my stomach, I was just breaking my stomach so much. So that, and then the other thing was so funny when I walked into the restaurant and I ordered the sparkling water with ice and they brought it. I couldn't even drink it right away. I was just like looking at it. I was like, do you know how many times I've dreamt with a sparkling water and eyes. Like, I was like, look at this, how beautiful. And my parents
Especially
are
in
like,
the desert, you'd be like looking for something that's going to be refreshing. Do you know what I mean? It's
because
like,
even the waters that we were drinking,
they end
everything
up
was
warm.
hot.
Yeah.
Everything's hot. So, and ice was just a dream. Like, it was just impossible. So it was, I was just there contemplating, and my parents were there just looking at me like, this person is weird. And I was like, there's ice. Look at this. There's ice. My parents are like, yeah, it's ice. Like, I think it's just something that people that have gone through this can relate. And so it was pretty funny. And that night, the organization has also a banquet or like an event, a dinner. And yeah, so Tanya didn't pack any clothes for any dinners or anything after. So I kind of forgot. I was like so, thinking about the race, and then I never thought about the after. So I had to show up with like clothes that I had from traveling 3 days, and it was just disgusting. But that was the only thing that I had in my bag. So yeah, so I show up in the very fancy banquet dinner with these horrible clothes.
Although bizarrely, you came back with new clothes for the place.
Oh yeah, because I went shopping for the next day. That day it's all about eating, and then the banquet was like a couple of hours after. So I always knew, like, kind of like I was just, so no time for shopping.
Always time for shopping with you.
After there was a big shopping spree. And I didn't even have shoes though. I walked into dinner with my trainers. I didn't want to put those hookers ever again, and I had to put them again for dinner. It was just, oh dear. Anyway, so the banquet, it was beautiful, and they present obviously the awards, like all the first places. Obviously it's a race, so there is a lot of, there's no prize money, just in case you were asking.
I think we've established that a few times now.
Yeah, very sad. Not that I will ever win it, but yeah, there's not really money motivation there. But they did give you a little, what's it, like a trophy for the winners. And after that, the photographers and videographers, which, by the way, that was another big pillar in this experience, were amazing. And I said their names 100 times, because every time I seen them, I was like, hey, I was like so happy to see them, and I was chatting to the camera all the time, which the video premiere is going to be this week. I think
I was going to ask you,
put
I
it
thought you
out.
put it out yet. It's really cool. Well,
It is
watched
super
it together,
cool.
didn't we?
We received it, and I am so the videographers put together a video of your experience, of each one's experience, and they presented that night in the banquet the pictures, some photographs, some shooting that they did, and they put together a video as well, sort of with the highlights of the race, which you can find those in the YouTube channel of Racing the Planet. I would really recommend you guys to see it. And I think they put one for each stage, to sort of like the highlights of each stage. Absolutely amazing. You can see there the views. They have drones so that you can see, like, and I think when I was in that banquet, obviously my parents the pictures were amazing, and the drone footage, I think that's what made me realize, like, oh my God, look what I just did a little bit. Like, I think when you're running in those,
you don't appreciate it,
you'd
do you?
never see it. Like, you're inside the moment, and you see, a massive dune next to you, but the big picture, when they do that, that drone footage of like expanding, and you see like you're literally in the middle of nowhere. It's just really, really, really great to see. And obviously you're living your own experience, but they put it out there, like different pictures of people having fun or struggling. And one thing that they said is like, and at the end they went out and they say thank you to everyone, and saying that it was so cool to see those very intimate moments of us. And that is true. That's exactly what it is. It's very intimate moments of us struggling or having fun or whatever, and they capture those moments just beautifully, and they share it with the people there. Not only us, by the way, in that banquet or that ceremony, the closing ceremony, you can invite also friends and family. So there was more people that just came for for that closure day. So they didn't do the
cool.
trip to the desert, but they did like just the closing
that's cool, isn't it?
ceremony, and there's a dinner as well and everything. So like I said, it was time for us to see the pictures and seeing the video at the end, and it was just so cool. And I think it gives them also the idea of for your friends or your family to see what you've been up to the last 7 days. My parents were so proud. They were like, "Oh my god, that was so hard. How can you do that?" I was like, "I have no idea I did that." If you did, I can't imagine. I just it's just
Yeah, because I suppose in these things that you're just getting one foot in front of the other
Yeah.
and getting on with it. You don't appreciate what's going on around about
I think
you.
and it was too
when you get
early.
those views from a camera, it's different. It puts things into perspective a little bit.
And it was too early. Like that just happened. That just finished that day. So you didn't have time to kind of like reflect or like nothing. It was just everything goes so fast. And like I said, I think I just got into that realization I think like a week after when I was running. I said, I even told you, like, I think I just realized what just happened. But in that moment, it just doesn't, like you said, I think during the race, you're too focused in surviving, solving whatever challenges you're having. So you're not really, you're there in the moment, but it's in a different way. And yeah, it was really, really, really fun. So I really invite everyone to do something, maybe not this, but something that is challenging, because it definitely changed my outlook in many things. And not only this race, everything that I do that challenges me. And this one challenged me obviously in a different way. And it made me learn so much about everything. So quick summary of things that worked.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there anything that you would have changed or anything that you have changed or...
So I think you learn more from actually mistakes or things that don't go right than when things go right. And in this case, everything went right. So maybe I missed an opportunity for learning because I think everything was bang on. Maybe I learned that I didn't have to pack too much sweet stuff. Maybe a little bit more that, I'm going to do the noodles thing a little bit, some of like more soups. At some point I was like, oh, I wish I had like that cube soup. So I'm going to put soup or drinkables, like salty drinkables for
We
dinner.
talked about that before, actually, in previous podcasts, is that it's hard to get the balance right. Because the thing is what will happen is you'll go with the next one and take more savoury stuff, and then you'll come back and say, I wish I had sweeter. It's tricky to get the balance right.
You need to pack always a little bit of everything and a little bit of different textures. Like I said, it's really important.
Texture.
So don't go always like all gummies,
Gummies
all,
and goos.
all chewables,
Yeah.
not all cookies, not all, like just have a little bit of different taste and a different textures. I did nail the texture thing, but I think I went too sweet and I was lacking salty stuff or spicy things. I just put one little bag of crisps. So yeah, I think I would put a little bit more salty stuff.
And I think if you nail that right and you nail the meal thing right, it probably actually gives you a wee bit of inspiration to go, oh, I can't wait for my noodles tonight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking about when I put my Takis or my bag of crisps.
Yeah.
But I think it was not enough. I wish I had a little bit more salty stuff. So definitely that. Everything else, I think it worked.
You're switching trainers though for the next one.
I am switching trainers. We'll talk about Gobi in the next one and sort of what we're changing, how we're gonna get ready for the next one, because it's definitely a different desert. But for this one in particular, everything was fine. Like my shoes were great. The shoes that we presented in the last season, the Hoka ones. I did tape the whole shoe like we showed. The gaiters were perfect. They were able to stand. I've heard some stories of people that all their gaiters got like destroyed. So obviously
So your poles were all right. Your hands
poles
were
were great. I think I would put sleeves maybe so I don't have to cut my sleeves.
In fact, you found something, didn't you? That's just a sleeve.
I know.
That goes
I
over.
found one that I'll show as well, and the things that I'm going to take to Gobi. I found an option of sleeves. I don't love the sleeves because they kind of squeeze your arm, and if you know, I don't like anything that squeezes me at all. So, but I found an option. if you don't like to be squeezed, I may have an answer
Sounds
for
bizarre.
you. I just don't like anything that is tight. I can't. I want to be comfy. And I was comfy. I think the gear was also a good shout. Everything worked. Everything was fine. Yeah. So in that sense, I think I missed the chance of learning. Maybe
What
because
about
everything worked.
what about the training? Is there anything that you think that you could have done better from a training perspective? Is there anything you feel you missed?
No, I did the best what I could do with what I had in the moment. I was training in that moment in Scotland, and we did the miles. We did put the backpack. We did as much as we could. We didn't have sand. We didn't have heat, but we worked the best. I did all my training. I had a really good coach, and that's we did what we could do. I did all the best, and it showed. Like, I mean, I didn't break, my leg didn't break, and I finished completely without any injured or any niggles or anything. So that talks that my body is strong, and I was able to withstand it. And the most important part is that it recovered fast, and it is recovering fast at this moment. So I wasn't able to like break it so much that right now I'm struggling. I am back to almost normal, and so ready for the next one, which that is the big objective. Remember that the big objective is to be able to withstand the 5 of them and not only one. So in that sense, yeah, exactly. And I think that is going to be linked to one of the questions that we got from today. We've been answering questions from you guys have been sending me, and I have one question today that is in regards of that. How do you relax after each race? Eat and sleep.
I have never seen any human eat as much as you have.
Yes.
I wish there was those challenges going on in Dubai because you would smash them.
Yes, we should look at those challenges.
In fact, we went for sushi one day and what you done about
Food challenge,
40 odd plates of sushi, didn't you?
If anyone can recommend me a good food challenge in Dubai, I know me and maybe, hopefully I know a couple of the runners at this point, we will smash any eating challenge. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, how do I recover? In particular, after this race, it was great to have my family here because we were able to just chill, walk around, taking it very, very easy the first couple of weeks. I think I had 10 days completely off. So just walking, and here we have plenty of places to walk. My parents, like I said, were visiting, so if we wanted to go for a meal or something, we were going walking. So it was great to get started, and then just easing on the running. I started with 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then now I'm back to weights. I started with a little bit of weights, and now I'm back to full weight, full double day sessions and everything. But I think that's one of my favorite parts, the recovery and relaxing time. Also, I did my mani-pedi at that point. I got my hair cut as well. I think things that I neglected for months because you're training. You're like, that's the only thing in your head that I kind of never thought about cutting my hair or doing my nails or I don't know, things that, you're just so focused in one thing. And then when that focus kind of like stops, you can, give time to your family as well, to you, maybe go out a little bit more. Saturdays and Sundays, I'm home now. Things that before, maybe in Scotland, I was out for Saturday and Sunday, long hours. So you miss that, So it was great to, spend those time that you own them a little bit back to them, to you, or in case when my parents were here. So it was great to have. So yeah, and just taking care of myself in other ways. And yeah, as well as eating and sleeping a lot. It took me a little bit of time, but now I think I'm getting better at the sleeping thing. It took I couldn't sleep very well the first couple of days, and now I'm like banking on 10 hours sleep nights.
Yeah.
So
I think that's to do with being in a new place as well.
that's the
It
other
takes a
thing.
while
We're
getting
just
used to it.
changing surroundings, so definitely, and our schedules have changed, and everything has changed. So that definitely made it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, that's been great. And yeah, just adjusting to the new life as well and all that. So yeah, I've enjoyed, but recovering, yeah, just focusing on recovering. So again, lots of good food, lots of sleeping. That's the best. That's the best you can do for your body, I think, for recovering after an effort like this.
You went out with a running group as well, didn't you?
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So yeah, I love joining groups. I think that's my thing when I move to a different country. I just find different groups. Listen, that's a great way to meet people. And I know I may not be a fan of running in groups because I do love my lonely runs, but it's a great place, I think, to connect and to meet people. And again, since I am not running that long right now, I can just, if I had 1 hour on the weekend run, I joined this group and it was great to meet people. That's the other thing that I wish. Maybe I don't know if we picked the wrong time to move. I don't think there is such a right time for things anyways, but I I will. There is some other groups that are doing other runs, but they go like 30 kilometers in the trail and stuff, which that was like a couple of weeks, and then the previous week they did like 4 or 5 hours in the trails, and I'm dying to join them, but I know I can't at the moment. Like if I go and I do that run, I will break myself too much. Like I'm not in that moment yet, so maybe I'm losing the chance to meet people because
But that'll happen later on. I don't think there's a right or wrong time.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like I wish I could go out and spend 5 hours in the trails here because that's what I love. I would love to discover, but right now, obviously, I have to take care of myself.
But you're doing something bigger than that at the moment. Do you know what I mean? You just need to.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like I'm in a new place. I am dying to know the trails here or the mountains here. Like I'm dying to go out. I know I will have time later, after maybe in a year, and maybe I'm just maybe losing the chance to meet people right now. Also because I am not running as much and I'm not going out as much just because my training. So I'm and then that group also they do like. The problem here is that the groups start at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., and I'm like, I am not waking up at that time. I'd rather go and roast myself later on, which actually may work better for my recovery and my training anyways. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's, I'm losing the chance to meet people just because right now of the moment of the stage of my training life race but I know I'll have time hopefully later. Like I said, maybe in a year when I can be a little bit more social and go out and So hopefully I answer most of your questions I tried to answer them through the podcast today. And thank you so much for your listening, and thank you so much for your feedback from the last episode. I had a couple of feedback saying like about the guy calling me not skinny enough for being a runner and things like it was a funny story. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. And just a wee reminder that we still running and the fundraising for the kids in Durango, the indigenous kids in Durango. We are a little bit far behind our target, and it's because I've been so focused in running and training, I think I haven't been on top of the fundraising. So please help me out. If you donated already or if you can't donate at the moment, I think you can still support just sharing the story, sharing the link with the people that could help us out. And I would really, really appreciate it. And that was it for today. Hopefully you find it informative, a little bit funny. And next episode, there is going to be a bonus episode. You guys are going to love this one. I had the chance to sit down and chat with one of my runner friends from the Namib Desert. So we sat down and we remembered together all the funny stories, a little bit of her experience. It was her first ultra marathon. So I am so excited to introduce you to my friend. And that will be a bonus episode that I will put out this week. And next week, we are back to normal. And we're going to start talking about Gobi because we are 4 weeks away from the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, not China. So we'll start talking about terrain. We started watching already documentaries or movies about the race. So I've already picked into what is to come. So with that, we're going to do some changes in gear and keep working in the recovery, into the training a little bit. And I will share all that with you as well as we start entering Gobi chat. Fun. So hope you enjoyed this episode and I'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend and keep doing whatever makes you ultra happy.